Today we're speaking to Vicky Clark, who currently works as an occupational therapist, and she's based in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal. Vicky, for those of us that are a little bit ignorant, can you tell us what exactly is occupational therapy and what does it involve?
Basically, occupational therapy is a field of medicine, and you specialize in getting a patient to function as optimally as possible, whether after an injury or illness or whatever it might be, to rehabilitate them and also to equip them with the skills to be able to independently function and optimally function as far as the best of their abilities. Say, for instance, you've been in a car accident or you've had severe depression. It would be the rehabilitation process to bring about your highest level of independent functioning. Psychiatry, the field that I work in, depression, bipolar, burnout, etc. You can also work in vocational rehabilitation, which will basically be rehabilitating the worker back into their highest level of functioning, and then also medico-legal, where you'll be asked by a group of attorneys or the Road Accident Fund to be able to assess whether a patient's injuries are actually severe, whether a person should be medically boarded, and how sort of the accident or illness has affected their functionality as an employee. So it's extremely broad, extremely diverse. So it is really nice to be, you don't have to study further as in medicine. You basically leave varsity qualified in all of those major fields, but it is best to specialize in one of those areas and to choose that for your direction further on.
Sounds really interesting. What made you personally decide to pursue OT?
I think when I was at school, I realized that I was very much a people's person and really wanted to work with people, particularly helping them. And I explored fields within the medical faculties. I looked at medicine, I looked at dietetics, psychology, physio, occupational therapy, and sort of tried to see what was available. Also, when I was in grade 11, the school that I went to, it was compulsory to have a business week where you had to find professionals and shadow them, do informational interviews, etc., and be able to get a sort of clearer perspective. Medicine is very rose tinted, and people think that it's like Grey's Anatomy, where it really isn't. So it was really important for me to get a realistic perspective on what it really is going to involve. So it was really the people, the helping the people, and there is a huge need for it, particularly in the South African context.
Okay, so in terms of job demand, there definitely is a job demand.
There's
for
huge
OTs.
demand.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes from the bracket of what we call scarce skills. So within South Africa and the world, it's a scarce skill. So immigration and things like that is a lot easier because you possess a scarce skill.
That's good to know. And Vicky, your experience at university, how did you find studying OT? It's a 4-year degree, am I right?
Yeah. Okay. 4-year degree, and thereafter community service, where you work a year for the government, but we can touch on that just now. I did my degree at the University of Pretoria. Wonderful university, and I could recommend it to anyone. Originally my choice was based quite strongly on the fact that my family were in Joburg. I went to high school in Natal, and was looking quite forward to be back near home, but also didn't want to be too close. Wanted to have some of my independence as well and be able to party a little bit.
It's nice to have a little bit of distance sometimes.
Definitely, so there was the balance, so that you could have your varsity during the week and then take your washing home to mom. It seemed to work really well. So that was a huge motivating factor. My aunt went to Pretoria as well. She's also an occupational therapist, and also I'd say an inspiration as to why I have chosen this field. It also has an excellent reputation, not only in terms of offering good medical degrees and medical sort of areas. It's also, well recognized in business, etc. But they really strike a balance between work and play. And they really get that right. The university supports RAG, which is charity work, and the RAG processions where you all dress up and have a party, and the university really encourages that, while there's also a strong emphasis on academics. But I thought that there was a really unique balance.
That's really nice. It's nice to be able to, like you say, work hard and play hard at the same time. And was it incredibly academically demanding?
Yes, if you do decide to study occupational therapy, and I would obviously recommend it, it's hard. The demands are extremely high, and it can be quite exhausting. They really do push you further than you imagined you could go. And I think for me, a challenge at Pretoria as well is that a lot of the people were Afrikaans, and our lectures were performed in English because they offer sort of they have to make the medical faculties English so that it's internationally recognized. But a lot of the people were Afrikaans, so I found that quite difficult in the beginning. But within a few months you settle in and you're prating the taal fluently. Besides from that, yeah.
And I think what Vicky mentioned to me before is it's incredibly practical, am I right? Very, very hands-on degree with a lot of practice.
Creative and practical. You have to be able to think innovatively and out of the box. You've got to tailor-make your program to suit the patient's needs.
Okay.
And you sort of learn skills that you wouldn't ordinarily learn. I mean, who has woodwork, honestly? So we had woodwork so that in case, if I have a male patient, maybe that's had a hand injury, that I can incorporate into activities that he actually enjoys and that are applicable to his frame of reference. So that was really, really interesting. And learning how to use wheelchairs. We had to go to Brooklyn Mall in our wheelchairs and really experience what it'd be like as a
yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's extremely sort of diverse in that context. But yeah, practical without a doubt, but also quite theoretical.
So you think it would suit somebody who obviously enjoys that practical aspect and who's creative? Is there anything else that you would recommend in terms of personality?
I'd say you need to be a people's person, a good communicator. You'll always be working in a team, or more than likely. What wasn't ever taught to me was that I would walk into a position straight out of varsity and have people under me. So I'd have OT assistants. So it's very important that you learn to communicate. I think you need to be hardworking, thinking out of the box. I mentioned that, motivated, because your patients often sort of take a little bit from you. If you are sitting there and they're not going to be able to sort of be motivated to improve themselves and to better themselves. So it definitely helps to be quite vibrant and a bit of a go-getter as well.
And then Vicky, what about the community service year? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Community service is basically a year that you pay back to the government. All university degrees are slightly subsidized by the government, so you have to give that year back. You do still earn a reasonable salary.
Sorry to interrupt, but the scholars are always interested to know what constitutes a reasonable salary.
First year out of varsity, you obviously enter as a junior therapist. My overall salary is about 15 or so. Okay. The government also subsidizes your medical aid. They pay 2/3 of that. I had a housing allowance, and they also added money to my retirement annuity. So huge benefits from working with the government, and that's what motivates a lot of people to stay. But basically that year is there for you to pay back for what the government has done for you, and also to get experience. You work in a very sort of close team, and you have a supervisor that you learn from, and it really is about exposing you to what occupational therapy is all about. And you get to work in the community. You have to do community development as well, and it's a really great year. You have to have the right attitude, but besides from that, it works really well and can be a wonderful experience depending on your attitude as well.
Thanks so much, Vicky. That's been very interesting. I know I've learned a lot. Is there any additional advice, anything else that you would like to say to the scholars that are watching this?
Basically everything of the best, and good luck in choosing what you'd like to do. A job isn't a job if you're loving it. It's not hard for me to get up and go to work every day because I love what I do. So it's very important for you to try and find something like that. And good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.